Welcome back to Planning Phase Syndicate. We are on a new After Dark, Universe Extended kick, where we dissect Star Wars lore after our normal show. Tonight, we're going to be starting our series on the new Thrawn books. And I guess they're not really new, because I believe they came out in the mid-20s. And I'll do that just to piss everybody else off. But we're going to be talking about the very first trilogy in the Thrawn series called Thrawn. Joining me tonight on mic and in virtual person is my good friend JJ and my good friend Greg. How are you all doing tonight, sirs?
I'm good. I'm not a New York Giants fan, so I'm doing really well there.
Oh, I bet you are. I don't think any of us are really a Giants fan. I think JJ pretends to be one, but
like he pretends to be Austrian. Yeah,
it makes sense.
A lot of fake shit happening in JJ's life. That's what I like about you, Tanner. Is you're authentic. You're like, I'm just gonna drink my bourbon or whiskey or rye or whatever the fuck you drink, and talk some shit. JJ, on the other hand, is like, oh, I'm Team Austria, and really into ski-doos.
Bratwurst, man. Come on. Jeez.
Bratwurst. Do you not like bratwurst and sausage, JJ?
Oh, I love it, dude.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Put that on the grill any day, bro.
Well, that's good. I mean, at least you can, if you're going to be fake about it, you can be fake about it together.
Yeah.
I mean, I was the one that came up with the whole logo design for our team, and provided that for us. So
yeah, it's just because your team didn't have one and you did it on the fly. You're like, oh shit, we have a stream tomorrow and we have no logo because somehow that was neglected.
That was the pride, man. I made the national flag for our team.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Jameson, because Jameson is the premium Irish whiskey of Planning Phase Syndicate. And yes, it goes neat into a glass with a separatist logo on it, because guess who? Not me, but guess what faction just won the Planning Phase Syndicate showdown? Seppies, baby.
That's right.
Nope. Seppies. No, not even a swarm. I don't consider it a swarm. But
nah, it wasn't even a swarm. Nah.
Greg, you will find I am very aggressively specific about what I consider a swarm. If it's 6 or less ships, I don't even consider that a mini swarm. There's no such thing. It's either 7 or 8 ships. That's it. Nothing in between.
I don't know. I think 6
between 7 and 8.
What's that?
What's between 7 and 8?
They're both swarms. I consider them both swarms. Like if you were like, hey,
you said my swarm is 7 or 8, nothing in between. And I want to know, what is that between?
Sometimes I cut Grievous in half, is what I do. Like I cut him in half, and I was like, can I have half a Grievous?
You could technically count a Discord missile as half of a ship. So
there you go. There you go.
You couldn't.
Yeah, you could.
No, you couldn't.
You shoot at it, right? It has.
You don't set a dial for it.
Right, but it still moves.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Try overlapping it. See what happens.
Yeah.
That's placement. That's not movement, you silly goose.
All right.
You should learn the game.
All right. Well, we're here to wax poetic about Thrawn. So we did this whole live thing where we were talking about Obi-Wan, and we did this for the Book of Boba Fett. But now, unless we move into Marvel, Jesus Christ, too much Jameson, I guess. Unless we move into Marvel, we aren't getting any new Star Wars audio or video content currently. So I thought, fuck the world. Let's talk about my absolute favorite character in Star Wars. And it's just, yes, it's a little bit of a privilege. Yes, I run the show. Therefore, I'm going to talk about Thrawn, because I absolutely think Thrawn is hands down the best character, and he's definitely the best character that does not exist in a lot of video canon. It's only in book form. So we decided we were going to force JJ to finish reading the books, and we were going to talk about Thrawn lore, and we're going to start with the very first trilogy, Thrawn. The trilogy
the Empire.
And the Empire, yes. It aired in the 2017 through 2019, and there is 3 books in this series. Anybody else excited? Am I the only excited motherfucker in this one?
Thrawn treason.
I love this this book. I had the pleasure of getting it signed during Star Wars Celebration on that same year by Timothy Zahn, and it was great. I enjoyed that book very, very much. Just revisiting this character back from like the old Heir to the Empire days. It's one of the extended universe characters that I was glad that they brought back into the new Disney canon, and it started off very, very strong. I really enjoyed it, and also his appearance in Star Wars Rebels was good as well. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm going to challenge you here, JJ. I don't think we revisited Thrawn with this series. I think we were introduced to a new, better Thrawn.
Fair. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Greg, actually. I do agree with you on that. I think that we were given a revision because, okay, let's talk a little bit about early Thrawn. Like, what is it? Legends Thrawn? Is that what we have to call it?
Yeah, Legends Thrawn.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's talk about Legends Thrawn.
Not that good.
Yeah, why is that though, Greg? Why do you feel he's not as good as he is now?
So I have the audiobooks of everything. I normally get physical books as well, but I really just like some days I just like chilling out in my chair, leaning back, closing my eyes, and having the audiobooks go. But Legends Thrawn is while still like a tactical genius who enjoys art and whatnot, he's just another Imperial baddie. He has no motivations other than Empire good. Like, there's no depth to him. There's nothing that makes him like a unique, terrifying leader. His terrifying leader is that he's just able to perceive things, which is fine. Like, that's a nice trait to have. But he's just another Imperial. He just loves the Empire, doing Empire things. He doesn't have these secondary motivations, secondary thoughts. He's not like the guy who in this book is just trying to figure out what is the Empire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no depth to his character in the Legends books. He's just a genius admiral who happened to be an alien.
Yeah. And in the new series we get one more
thing, and he doesn't have a code. He doesn't have a moral code like he does in these new books. Like, I mean, he willingly participates in basic slavery of the Nogri in Legends. He kills his crew in Legends. He has them executed. Stuff like that. He doesn't have that moral compass guiding him like he does in these new books. Sorry.
No, I think you're right though, Greg. I think that defines how that series, why we have 3 sets of books, right? Is because without being able to define it, it's boring. And I agree with you. I actually read the original Thrawn books when I was younger, and then before the new ones came out, I reread them. And then when the new ones came out, for the first set of series, I was like, holy shit, these are better written, right, than the original ones were. And so B, then we actually got to see kind of a character development in Thrawn that we have not seen before at all.
Yes. There was Thrawn grows, especially in book 1, which I guess we're specifically talking about. The growth of Thrawn in book 1 is greater than the growth of Thrawn throughout the whole Heir to the Empire series.
Yeah, agree. I do like the kind of like seeing the Empire through Thrawn's eyes as he's going in through the Academy, his meeting with the Emperor, and just his interactions with the different Moffs, especially with like Tarkin, and then taking Eli Banto under his tutelage as he's like progressing like through his ranks there in the Empire. Definitely shows a lot more growth for that character, and it makes him interesting, right? Because he's not affected by a lot of the pandering that a lot of the Moffs did, and basically a result of the Empire, how that formation happens is finding favor with the person who's above you in order for you to gain more power and do it. And we see it very probably done a lot more in oh my god, what's her name? I don't know why I wanted to say Belinda Mood. That's definitely not the name.
It's not.
But
Price. You're talking about
Price.
Price.
Arinda Price.
Arinda, yeah.
And it just like seeing her character develop is like a contrast to how Thrawn develops in the thriving Empire.
Oh God, I hate her character.
Yeah, I know, and that's the part, right? It's like it's just she serves as that contrast to Thrawn in that book, and it just makes you like Thrawn so much better, right?
Also, well, I think another thing is Thrawn actually has flaws in this series.
Mm-hmm.
Like Thrawn's only flaw is the Nogri figured out through Princess Leia's time. It's not even anything Thrawn did. The Nogri figured out that Thrawn wasn't healing their planet, and so they assassinated him in the air of the Empire. This Thrawn has a clear flaw, and that's he doesn't understand the political game. So while he might be a tactical genius, there's this whole other side that he gets constantly worked on, like just run with, pounded by, overruled, destroyed, etc.
Yeah. And the book opens with, basically how he's discovered, right? On a planet in the middle of nowhere, being exiled. He said, "Hey, you're done. You're not going to be here." And Thrawn basically swiftly, because I can't remember if Vader and the Emperor were on that ship that discovers Thrawn, or if it was just some high-ranking generals that discover him. But
it was just a regular ship of the line. It wasn't anyone important.
Yeah. And he negotiates his way into essentially being able to join the Empire, right? Like, I mean, that's crazy. Like, hey, we just found this crazy blue alien, and he wants to join the Empire. We are not going to murder him now. Crazy. Just crazy to me.
Yeah, and it also shines a light as well as on the Empire, how they treat other non-humans and how they basically like have like a racist side, right? Because they only want to like deal with humans, not anybody that's not really particularly human.
And also keep in mind before this, so the Emperor knows that he's already had a run-in with Anakin Skywalker. We don't get that till book 2, but book 2, half of it takes place before book 1, like way before book 1.
Yeah.
So the Emperor already knows about Thrawn's existence. That's why when he pops up again, the Emperor summons him to Coruscant, and how he gets admission into the Academy is because he had that previous run-in with Anakin, who the Emperor, I think it even goes in Thrawn's like, I had a run-in with a Jedi or something called Anakin Skywalker. What happened to him? And the Emperor's like, oh, he's dead, homie. But like, you want to go to school?
Like, don't worry about him. You'll never meet him. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's part of the interesting pose there. And I don't want to get too far down the line into book 2, even though book 2 actually was my favorite one. And maybe it's because it's a flashback and I'm just kind of a sucker for that type of shit.
You can't convince me that Zahn was like, I want to write some of these prequel characters. How am I ever going to get to do that? I know.
I'm going to be responsible for the Vendor Vader. Yes.
Well, is that who we have to blame? Anyway, so we go back to, like the Thrawn character, and he's in the opening, we're seeing him having to navigate, right? And, like one of the things, like and this is where when you say earlier, Greg, when you said, hey, the reason I like Tanner is because he's just straightforward and he likes whiskey and he doesn't understand or try to get involved in anything. Don't
let it go to your head.
But Thrawn is similar, which is probably why I identify as strongly with Thrawn, is because Thrawn in this series just tells you how it is. He doesn't care as much about politics. He just cares about what is the best outcome and how do we strategically align everything. I'm definitely not as smart as that dude. I will openly 100% admit that. Like, that guy could look at a painting.
Are you not as strong as the fictional general?
No, definitely not. I'm definitely fatter too than he is. So I enjoy the food and the wine more than he must have. But that's the interesting thing, is going through, and this is where they talk about some of the Imperial Academy, right? Like, which I think is an interesting, piece, because as we develop Thrawn and as we go through this whole like character building piece of Thrawn, we're getting into the fact that this is how the Imperial Academy works. And back at that time, we didn't have all of that piece before. Like, we didn't have some of the intricacies of how it worked. And Thrawn has to develop that connection between how the hierarchy works in the Imperial Empire versus his home, Chiss world, where, a lot of that stuff is just pre-dictated to some extent. But if you think about it, and we haven't gotten into, the next book series, but Thrawn actually, you go, like, the third series talks about how Thrawn rises through the ranks and all these other things, right? So think of it this way, like, Thrawn's now having to compare both sets of hierarchies between the two.
Yeah. I mean, he's really there just to learn about the Empire and if they're a threat.
Yeah. But we don't know that. You're killing me. We don't know that, though. Like, they don't introduce that piece of it yet in the beginning of it. Like, at first we think Thrawn is just genuinely somebody that's been exiled and has just this upper bearing. As we go through the series, we understand and we get to learn that. That's a piece that
It's throughout the first book that they go through all the flashbacks on him being kicked out.
Yeah, but it's not as in depth as it was a big conspiracy of why they were doing it, though. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. I guess it's been a couple years since
it's been a while. Yeah, since I've read it as well. But yeah, no, I think that this particular book, they do set up quite a bit to later explore later on. I do remember them mentioning just like flashbacks of why Thrawn was there, particularly when he's talking with Eli Vanto, and he's trying to find the word to express it. And I'm trying to remember that particular conversation, but they do make mention of why Thrawn is there in the first place. Like, I believe he was trying to find the word for exiled. So yeah.
The other piece they introduce in book 1 is this mysterious character called Night Swan. And I want to talk a little bit about Night Swan, and I want to talk a little bit about how Timothy Zahn is a mastermind when it comes to introducing mysterious characters and actually making you want to care about them. Like, he works very well at that. Like, there's a character that comes out at the end of the second, or at the end of the book, or the beginning of the second series, where they talk about Jinxes, and like, you develop a desire to determine, is that the Emperor or not? Like, you really go into that whole piece. But Night Swan. So Greg, what's your take on Night Swan? Did you like it? Did you think that was a stupid piece of it?
I love Night Swan, and I also like that he's kind of Thrawn's equal.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where Thrawn really ends up respecting him and like seeing the value of him. That's another thing we never really got in the original series. Like, the closest we get to Thrawn in the Heir to the Empire series is like Garm Bel Iblis. But even then, Thrawn doesn't ever actually lose a battle in the Heir to the Empire trilogy. He never actually loses a battle. So like, having Night Swan be like a foil to Thrawn and be capable of beating Thrawn, I think was very important for like a modern storytelling and to give a character, again, that depth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then just lead into that confrontation with him in the oh my god, I'm trying to remember the name of the planet, but basically in the field. Just that whole point where he finally gets to like talk to him and have that conversation. That was just a great bit of writing there. I really enjoyed that part.
I can't believe Yularen was just like, okay, well that's fine with me. Like, that's not.
you're you're hired to be skeptical of everybody. Like, come on, man. Like, come on.
I don't know. And I think so. That's like, I think in the Night Swan piece right there, giving Thrawn that equal, like you said, Greg, like I think that creates this dynamic. And some of me wonders is as we see and hear rumors about what's being developed on Ahsoka, like, will we ever see any of these other characters make appearances in future Star Wars shows? Like,
Well, I hope to see Paleon at least.
Yeah, we got the shout out, but that's about it.
that's the only one you want to see. You don't want to see any of the other ones.
Well, Eli Vanto as well.
Yes.
It'll be interesting who, if they do bring him, who they would choose to be him, because he has a particular like voice. He's like a farm boy. Like that's what he sounds like, right? Like just that southern drawl that they added to his voice. Like it'll be really interesting.
I always just imagine him as like a country Chris Pratt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
there you go.
all right. Less charismatic, though, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A country Chris Pratt. That's right on the money, man.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing is, like, we have Eli, and that's a story they go through and develop, right? Like they develop that piece of the whole thing of getting that relationship going. And some of me wonders, like how that relationship exists, right? Like it feels like Eli is always like, is he my friend? Is he not my friend? Like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? like this guy's crazy. Like who hangs out with this guy, type thing. And I think that's like, because doesn't he, I believe it's in book 1, doesn't Thrawn meet Eli's parents?
Yes.
Yeah.
On graduation day.
Yeah.
Yes.
They get.
And Thrawn gives this whole like speech to his parents about how like good Eli is, and then kind of like sidelines and says, "But I'm so cool too," just so y'all know.
Yeah.
I'm still Thrawn, for fuck's sake.
One of my favorite moments of book 1 is when Eli gets promoted like 7 levels or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely brings Eli up, and that's kind of like great, right? Like for Thrawn to see the value of Eli Vanto from the beginning, and just make sure that he takes the time beyond everybody else that he interacts with to bring him under his tutelage and help him develop the same skills that he needs to become a good leader, and then to later entrust him with Commander Arlani to be like that liaison. So that's really great.
Yeah. And I think the other thing when we talk about book 1, right, is as Thrawn's navigating, some of this, he's learning that he has less control in manipulation than he did in the Chiss Ascendancy, right? Like when he was in the fleet, we get the feeling that he had this huge, like ability to influence things and get away with things, and he's learning in this world of the Empire, he does not have that at all.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And one of my favorite quotes that Thrawn has is he says, "There are things in the universe that are simply and purely evil," right? A warrior does not seek to understand them or to compromise with them. He seeks only to obliterate them. And again, I don't want to get too far into the future of the Thrawn series, just because we didn't give spoiler warnings for all that. But if you think about that and then kind of go back and apply that to what he's like talking about and learning about and things, like that statement right there just demonstrates how Thrawn sees the Empire. And whereas he may not think they were this big threat originally, he's learning to decide how much of a threat this actual group of people are. Which, when we talk about Star Wars canon, doesn't that kind of like open up that whole canon piece, right? Like all of a sudden we've been specifically poised on the fact that we have this little tiny area and Palpatine's the only thing that fucking matters and everything revolves around Palpatine this and Palpatine that. But Thrawn comes in and kind of says, there's other challenges outside of fucking Palpatine, right? Unless somehow Palpatine like extends his way through the Chiss Ascendancy and we just don't know about it yet.
I think that's part of Palpatine's intrigue, though, in Thrawn, right? Because here comes this alien from a completely unknown system that's outside of any of the information that the Republic had prior to the Empire, and she knows nothing of it. So, like Palpatine's thing is maintaining his power, and if there's this unknown species or possibly another empire that could challenge him, he wants to have them close so that way he can see them, observe them, and see if they're any potential threat or if there's something that he can exploit, so that way he can still have the upper hand in case they ever become a threat to him.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Anything else about book one? I don't know, like book one, like I said, book one to me was a great intro, but I felt book one was a lot slower. In terms of the taxing piece of it, it did draw me in to say, hey, I want to learn more. But I felt book one had a slower the pace set to it than the others.
I'm just happy that Render Price died. That's it. In Rebels.
And why is that? What why do you hate Price?
Because
it's fucking annoying.
She is annoying as hell in the book. And then when we finally, and see, I was at the time, I was just starting to really get into Rebels. And then I just gotten to like finish the first book when we started, when season 4 was like going in the middle of it. And then finally to see her, spoiler alert, by the way, to see her finally die. And also when she disobeys Thrawn's orders and he's just like mad, like he's gonna freaking, if he had the force at that moment, he was gonna choke her out. Like, or throw her outside of the airlock. Like he was just pissed. But yeah, it just made me feel like no pity for this woman because she was just a horrible person. She really was.
Yeah, I mean, turning her friend in.
Mm-hmm.
What a dick. And then I don't know. She's just really annoying. She also did commit pretty nasty mass murder.
Yeah, some heinous stuff.
And Thrawn knows it too, and he can't say it. He's not allowed to say it because she doesn't outrank him, but she's a governor at that point, and he's just an admiral.
I mean, she was probably that evil that a warrior seeks to destroy and not understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't have the opposition to Price as you guys did. In that piece, I don't know. And I think the reason a lot of, and maybe this is just the writing style, but her character was not developed in the same way Thrawn was at all. He didn't invest the emotional piece of Price in this, whereas he easily did in Thrawn and in Eli, right? And Eli was that underdog, character coming about that you're like, oh, holy shit. He reminds, who Eli reminds me of? Like Kanan, or not Kanan, Ezra. That's kind of what, like Ezra without a temper and no force ability, But that's the style that I believe, I feel that they wrote that piece in. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And then also just kind of seeing the book also on the Orinda side, just seeing a little more of the inner workings of how the Empire works. Orinda's dealings with Tarkin and trying to set up another Moth in exchange for like gaining power. Just shows like that backstabby, political intrigue part of the Empire that wasn't really explored much in like other books or canons until we actually got the Tarkin book itself. But it was really interesting to see a lot more of like the corrosion in the empire at that point, right? The moral corrosion that they had, which was I did find that piece interesting. So
Yeah, and I like that piece too because to me that felt like the Empire. Like that felt like how like Palpatine constructed basically death squads of people to, like we're going to pit everybody against each other and say fuck the world, right? Like I just want you to all fight to the death and whoever comes out on top, I'll make, Empire Junior or some crap like that. Who knows what the hell he would call him,
Mini me.
Mini me. All right. Anything else about book 1? I don't think we're going to get into book 2 tonight. We'll save book 2 to next week. So, Greg, now you're part of the series, so I expect to see Greg next Sunday night joining us for book 2 discussion of Thrawn.
On a side note, how you feeling, Greg? I know you've been recovering.
I'm good now. The cough is mostly gone, which is nice.
Good, Ben. It's good to hear.
Are you going to play when you go to Gen Con this time, or are you going to just do the watching thing again?
I'll probably just hang out. I don't have the stamina to play 6 games of shit. Like I get bored.
All right, so I have a proposal. Can we at least have a Chris versus Greg game? Like, can we just do a pickup game while we're there and see if somebody will stream it?
I thought you were talking about Crispy for a second. I'm like, who the fuck is Chris?
Me. It's me, motherfucker. All right, a Tanner versus Greg. There you go.
Oh, Tanner. I know Tanner is.
Yeah, I know.
He's that other guy who was here earlier, right?
Yes. Yeah, he has a short beard and,
glasses,
drinks whiskey, the whole cast,
Won't
somehow still not
nugs.
drunk.
Won't eat the chicken nugs. And we're going back to the same chicken nuggets from Adepticon. Gosh, they're terrible.
It'll probably be the same people. Let's be honest.
Yeah. They probably will. I hope Adepticon has better food. I really do.
It won't.
All right. It won't.
It won't. Gen Con is in Indianapolis, and if you think there's better food in Indianapolis than Chicago, you're fucking whack.
Well, I know Chicago has the best pizza. That's what you told us the other time. So
no, don't think that was it.
The Portillo's hot dogs are like great though, even though we ate them in a rush.
They're fucking hot dogs, JJ. You can fucking eat them raw.
Nah, there was something different there, man. Okay, I have to preface this with that Florida water sucks. Okay, so it makes everything here taste terrible. So
why is that?
It's swamp water that's reclaimed and repurposed and stuff.
Oh, okay. Do you guys just not drink water in Florida? Is that like a thing that everybody's like, oh, we're not gonna drink the water?
The majority of the water that's supplied for like drinking water that actually tastes good comes from like 2 different rivers here in Florida that basically is the only supply of like clean water or like
Lake
tasting water here. But yeah, exactly. And Zephyr Hills. So everything else here, like all the water from the tap and everything like that, everything's run through from like the swamp wells and marshlands that gets treated and then pushed out for drinking water or regular water. And so it has a smell and has a taste. So it's bad.
All right, fair enough. I'm out.
You never
on that,
been
then.
driving in Florida and like you go down the road and you start smelling sulfur?
Sulfur, yep. That's the water supply. Yep.
Ugh.
They're like reclaimed water they use for like plants and shit. Smells like rotten eggs.
Yes.
Yeah. See, we only get that with cows in Michigan. Where I live, there's tons of cows.
You guys do like fucking cows. It's true.
The
good news is Florida, same thing, except it's gators.
You know the irony of that? Before we started the show, my wife like texted me and was like, "Hey, there's a gator in Kalamazoo in one of the rivers down there. Like they're trying to capture it like right now." And like the irony is I wonder if it swam up from fucking Florida. I wonder if you gave us our fucking gators.
Mm-hmm.
JJ, how old are your kids?
She's 5. Just 5.
Has she learned serpentine?
No, she has not.
You gotta teach her serpentine, dude. What if she runs into a gator?
I mean, she had a good run.
She had a better run if she could serpentine.
Yeah, that's true.
What the fuck you doing not teaching serpentine? That's dereliction of duty.
I gotta say that gator cooked right actually tastes pretty good. Gotta say.
Homie, you're not teaching your child to escape the one animal down there that's like, well, that and the turkeys, the wild fucking turkeys that'll attack you. So
Oh,
ain't
yeah.
gonna help you there. You just go down, you fight.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could just hit them with your car. It's fine.
Jesus.
Yeah, if you want your car to die.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
that's
like
true.
my car dying.
The suckers are like 200 pounds. Yeah.
Ugh. But hey, you would get free gator meat. So there you go. It's kind of like in Michigan, you hit a deer, you get the deer. If you have a gun, you just put it down yourself, throw it on the fucking, top or the back of your truck, take off with it, go home, process it, pay somebody to process it. I'll never forget when I was in high school learning how to drive in my parents' van, I hit a deer and I was on the way to my cousin's Bible study. And I had to call them and be like, hey, I'm not coming. I'm not going to make it this week. And they were like, hold on. We're going to come see you. And literally, like, my cousin and her friend both showed up down the road to put the deer out of its misery. Like, we had to call the fucking cops first. Like, we had to actually call the cops and be like, hey, can we do this? So a cop had to come while we used our guns to kill the deer. And then we went and took him, had it processed. And I had deer jerky for like 6 months. It was amazing, actually. And I didn't have to kill the deer other than the stupid thing ran out in front of my mom's van, which she was super pissed off, by the way. Like, lividly pissed that, I was the one driving. But, it's like, it's a deer. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Sounds like a Red Dead 2 like story.
it's Michigan, man. That's what happens in Michigan. You hit a deer, if you hit it in the right place, you get good meat out of it, And deer tastes good. Have you never had deer?
Once, and that was back when I lived in New York. So yeah.
Deer is actually super tasty, but like
it's game.
I don't go around hitting them for fun. And then I call my cousins to bring their fucking guns.
It's a little rednecky. Yeah, I'll admit.
What the fuck was that cop call like? Hey, no emergency technically. Here's the deal. I just hit a deer because I'm an incompetent student driver. Now I was hoping that I could just shoot it in the face and get that sweet, sweet deer meat. Is that all right with you?
That's actually very close to the call. I didn't actually do it. My cousin's friend did it. She's the one that wanted the deer meat more than me. And I'm just sitting there just like, I don't know what to do because my mom's angry and like she's there. And like technically we didn't want to leave the deer on the side of the road because it wasn't technically dead. It was still alive. Like I hit it like in one of its like legs, so it couldn't walk. So it would do this like circle thing, fall down, circle thing, fall down, circle thing, fall down. And so like I felt bad and wanted to like it shouldn't have like that deer is not gonna live. Something's gonna get it, like and it shouldn't have to starve to death. You should be able to put it out of its misery at least.
Yeah.
But yes, my cousin's friend literally called 911 and said, yes, this is not an emergency, but we hit a deer. And we are wondering if we're able to put it down and take care of it for you. And they're like, no, we need to be there. And then they sent like one cop out and the cop literally just stood there to make sure, like, I don't know why. I have no idea why, but it had to be there.
You wanted some jerky too.
Well, imagine that call. Like, all right, we got an APB, a fucking idiot hit a deer up on County Road 22. And, they want to shoot that deer. Who wants to go watch a deer die? Any of you cops, you non-well-adjusted cops, want to watch an innocent animal die? And then like 18 people call like, well, we can't send 18 of you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to play the lottery game. I'm going to call out a number 1 through 18. And one of you fucking sickos is going to go up there and watch a deer die for what I assume is sexual pleasure. Number 9.
They probably trained all those cops by making them watch Bambi. Like, okay, we got a Bambi call. Go.
I mean, if you think about it, in Michigan, like the cops are killing minorities anyway. So, like, I mean, this is nothing new. So, like, this is just practice, right? Oh, we're gonna watch someone die. All right, hey, no problem. Sorry, that got a little political there, but Charles isn't on, so it's okay.
He is the majority stuff.
All right, well, that's enough Tanner deer stories for the night. I'm pretty sure nobody needed to hear that. I'm sure that was not entertaining at all, except for the sexual fantasy of shooting a deer. That's just weird. If you get off on murdering
that's
animals, then more power to you, I guess. Just I don't want to know about it. That's
Can't tell me that cop wasn't like, nice. All right.
All right. I'm definitely ending the show on that note. Thank you all for joining us for our Universe Extended series. We will be back next week to talk about Book 2 of the first trilogy series of Thrawn, which, JJ, what is the name of Book 2?
Alliances, sorry.
Oh my God.
Alliances.
And it's
He had
also
one
the
job.
second series of Thrawn. Stop calling it the first. It's confusing everybody.
It is. Okay, fine.
He's
is
right,
the
he's right.
first canon series of Thrawn. There you go. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. We will be back next week with our normal podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern Time to talk about why JJ will never wear his Giants hat on the stream again. Thank you all. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week.